Thank you for tuning in. Skywalking with Wetz podcast. This is the podcast giving you the best takes. Probably not, but you know what? This is the podcast. We're here. NBA Finals is over, and I'm just going to kind of give you my thoughts on the NBA Finals. Unfortunate ending. Very, very sad ending for the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton. It was a tough one to watch. It was a tough one to see, especially that injury happening so early in the first quarter. But thank you for being here. Again, it's the Skywalk with the Wetz podcast. We've been gone for about 20 days since the NBA Finals has started. I didn't make a video because I was out of town, so couldn't do it. But that's all good. We're here. We're happy to be here. NBA Finals went to a Game 7. Pacers versus Thunder went to a Game 7, and I'll tell you what, it was, for the most part, everything that we wanted out of an NBA Finals. Two small market teams battling it out for eternal glory, for glory forever, to be remembered forever. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning Finals MVP. He hit the trifecta. He won NBA regular season MVP, Western Conference MVP, NBA Finals championship, and Finals MVP. What a season for Shai. Hate him or love him, you got to respect him. He is a great player, regardless if you think he is a what do y'all call him? Foul merchant, free throw merchant. But also hats off to the Indiana Pacers. They surprised a lot of people. I think they surprised me. I don't think I picked them to win a single series until the NBA Finals, and of course, the series I picked them to win, they lose. They end up beating the Bucks in the first round, beat the Cavs in the second round, Knicks in the third round, and they almost did it in the NBA Finals. But it was fun to watch. Again, we had two small market teams. Let me think. Anyways, two small market teams, man. Oklahoma City and Indiana. It was great. A breath of fresh air, like I said in my last video. Indiana came out hot in game one, won game one. They lose game two, but that was okay. It's like you just need to get one away on the other opponent's floor, and they did that in game one. Halliburton with his shot. And, game three, they take game three, they lose game four, and I think, games 1, 2, and 3, it is what it is, but I think game 4 is when I really knew this would be a great series. Indiana was up the whole game, just putting it on the Thunder, but the Thunder, stayed tight, really crashed offensive rebounds, locked up on defense, and snuck one out, came back in the last, I think, the fourth quarter, they went on their run, and Indiana couldn't close the gap, but they were down maybe 15, almost 20 at one point in that game 4. And I remember when I was watching that game 4, I thought that would have been wraps for the Indiana Pacers, just because, you have the opportunity to go up 3-1 at that point, and you blow a big lead like that. I thought they were going to lose in 6, but that wasn't the case at all. It was not the case at all. The Thunder go on to win game 5. We go to game 6, do or die for the Indiana Pacers, but they're back in Indiana, and they went and got the job done. They win in Indiana and force that game 7. And one thing I think about that is going into that game 7, I thought Indiana was going to win. Even when you look at game 7 leading up to the Halliburton injury, Indiana looked like they were there, and they weren't intimidated. They were ready for the moment. And Halliburton looked like he was ready for that moment. He was like 3 for 4 from 3, 9 points to start off in the first quarter. Indiana looked comfortable. Pascal was hitting some shots. They were playing good defense, and it looked like the Oklahoma City Thunder were kind of tight. And feeling the moment, feeling the pressure as the number 1 seed in the West and number 1 team statistically in the NBA. It looked like it was going to come down to be an all-time classic. But there about midway through the first quarter, Tyrese Halliburton goes down with that Achilles injury. And I'll tell you what, man, once the Achilles happened for Tyrese Halliburton, it just ruined the game for me, honestly. Like, first off, you hate to see that, especially to a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who overcame a lot, but proved a lot of people wrong in this playoff run. Right before the playoffs started, he was voted by his peers in the NBA the most overrated player in the league, and he had about 3-4 game-winning shots, just absolutely clutch in these playoffs. Pretty sure he beat. Were the Cavs the number 1 seed out in the East? He beat the number 1 seed in the East. Beat Giannis and the Bucks. And obviously they did what they did to the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. And right before they cut to the replay, I knew exactly what happened. I didn't even need to see the replay to know what happened. Tyrese went on the floor, and it was like, my initial thought is, oh, he fell, he's okay. But once they cut to him before the replay and him on the ground, and he was immediately crying, and you could just see him going, no, 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 no. I knew exactly what it was, because when people are playing with strained calves, the Achilles ruptures usually soon to follow if they play. And they showed the replay, and you can just see the Achilles just pop, dude. And it just makes me sick to my stomach, and you hate to see a Game 7 really start off on that foot. It was tough. It was tough to watch, and it just kind of took the hype out of the game for me, because it's like, wow, the series is really going to end on that note. And I know the Pacers played well throughout the Game 7, but they're not the same team without Tyrese Halliburton on the floor. And they did the best they could. They were even up 1 going into halftime, but as the third and fourth quarter came around and we watched that game, you could just tell, like, Indiana and the role players they have around Tyrese and Pascal, they did as much as they could, but they just didn't have that guy who could create his shot consistently. TJ McConnell obviously did a great job there, especially, I think, in the third quarter. There was a point, I think, in about a 10-minute span of the game, TJ McConnell was the only person to score for the Indiana Pacers. And, it just goes to show how important Tyrese is as a player to the Indiana Pacers, but it just goes to show, like, when a superstar's out and they're not on the floor, especially in those big moments that can take over. I'm about to sneeze. When that superstar's not out there, how much of an impact they have, you realize that. And, it sucked. And one thing I thought was like, oh, it's interesting how some of the Thunder players started to get a little more comfortable after the Tyrese injury. I'm not saying that they were, happy Tyrese got hurt or, anything like that, but you could tell that threat wasn't there anymore for them, and they felt a lot more confident. Jalen Williams started off pretty bad to start the game, but then he started to get comfortable. Chet started to get comfortable. Shea, he didn't have his best shooting game, but he still had like 28, like 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Like, what was he? Like 8 for 27 from the field. But he dished the ball pretty well. But at the end of the day, I think you just got to give your hats off to the Thunder on a great season and doing what they had to do to win an NBA championship. But at the same time, man, it that was tough to see Tyrese go out like that. Now, Dame, Tatum, and Tyrese, oddly enough, all wear number 0, I believe, tore their Achilles in these playoffs. And one thing I raised after, during the game actually was like, this needs to be studied. Like, what is happening in like today's, just in athletics in general today? Like, why are the Achilles ruptures so much more common than they were? Because like when I was coming up, like I think I even mentioned this when Dame and Jason Tatum tore their Achilles. Like, it was never this common. You know what I mean? Like, it was never this common. And is it the athletic training? And I know athletic training is really good and super advanced now, but is just like the focus on, high intensity workouts and explosiveness and things like that. Like, is that the problem, or like, what is it? Because it's honestly, it's crazy, and we're gonna miss 3 major superstars in the NBA next year because they ruptured their Achilles. And again, it goes back to a sore calf, a strained calf. Kendrick Perkins said it, and I know we don't always agree with what Kendrick Perkins has to say, but he even said it. He was like, Tyrese, do not play on that strained calf. And he said he told Kevin Durant the same thing. You never know if he's telling the truth, Perk's telling the truth or whatever. But I think he's right, and he has a point there. Like, a strained calf, like, that is nothing to play with, because if you can't get everything you can out of that calf, all of that like pressure and all of that work goes straight to the Achilles, and the Achilles can only take so much. And it is always like the same movement. They're planting, they're ripping, they're looking to explode to make a move, their foot steps back, you see the heel go down and just pop. And like, I wish I was more excited to report on the NBA Finals, especially the Game 7, but it just left me with a weird feeling, especially in that Game 7. Like, again, hats off to the Thunder. They're the best team in the league. Shea did his thing. Chet showed up when he needed to. Jalen Williams showed up when he needed to. Dort hit some big threes. Alex Caruso inserted his presence into that series, being the vet, making the moves on the defensive end, boxing out, getting calls, getting steals, hitting threes. Like, the Thunder are set up for success for a long, long, long time, but it's hard not to feel for the Indiana Pacers, because regardless if they won or lost this series, there was a lot to look forward to going into next season. And now you're going to go into next season without a Tyrese Halliburton, and it's going to be a different. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but it's hard to believe that they're going to go on a kind of run that they went on this year without Tyrese. And I think it's an opportunity for some of those other guys to step up and develop over the year. But it's just hard not to feel for them, especially Tyrese, man. Like, he was having one of the greatest playoff runs I think I've ever seen in my life. Regardless if he won or lost, it just reminds me of Dirk. It reminds me of, runs like that where guys just, willing his team to dubs. And I know he dropped some duds like here and there throughout the playoffs, but you look at the game winners he's had, the clutch shots he's had, the assists he's had. Like, he had a great run. The Indiana Pacers had a great run. Pascal had a great playoff run. Aaron Nesmith, all those kinds of dudes, man. And, I think we all kind of knew once Tyrese went down last night, like, we knew the Thunder were going to win that ball game. Lou Dort hit that shot in the third, just end of shot clock. Shea travels for one, no call. And I'll get to this in a sec. Shea travels. He gets the ball back, throws it to Dort. Dort throws it up. Boom, goes in. And you're like, yep, that's raps. Like, once a team's hitting stuff like that, man, like, there's not much you can do. You kind of got to just respect it, and just it is what it is. Shout out TJ McConnell. He had a great playoff run. I think he got a lot of respect from a lot of people. But one thing, and I kind of said I'll get to this here in a sec, is just like, is it me? And I know it's not me, but it's like people on Twitter, half of them don't know what the hell they're talking about. But like, as just someone who's played basketball before, I've never went professional. I played in college. But like, it just seemed like the Thunder would get calls that the Pacers would never. The Thunder would get calls that the Pacers would never. Shea would get calls that the Pacers would never. There's a couple times Lou Dort got some calls that the Pacers would never. There was a box out foul. Alex Caruso, he had a great box out on the baseline, and I think it was Aaron Nesmith was trying to get around him, and they called a foul. About 3 possessions later on the under end of the floor, the same flipping thing happened, but it was a no call, right? The continuations. There was one continuation where Shea got fouled, but he was able to do a 360, 2 steps, throw it up, get the and one. But then something similar happened on the other end, and it was ruled on the floor. And so it's just like little things like that. It was like, man, the Thunder really do get the whistle. Like maybe it's not always Shea, but the Thunder get the whistle, dude. They get the whistle. And it's just crazy that games are like that in the NBA, especially like in a game 7. It's just like, wow, man. Like, you know, the foul counts might be similar, but it's how many free throws. Like, it's just like, I don't know, man. It just felt like the Thunder would get stuff that the Pacers wouldn't. And it wasn't just in that game 7. Like, look at game 4. I feel like the Thunder got some calls that the Pacers never did. And, you know, there were flagrants called that made, like, it was wild, man. And I'm not saying that, you know, the Thunder won the series because they got all the calls, but there was some parts of the series where I feel like momentum definitely was taken away from the Pacers or given to the Thunder, just based off of some whistles, man. And, you know, it is what it is. But game 7, it was great. But no, it wasn't great at all. And I wish I was more excited for you guys to report on it, but unfortunately I'm not. And it is what it is. It just sucks knowing that Tyrese went out like that and the finals was determined the way it was. You never wish to see injuries. You never wish that on anybody, but I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. And, you know, Tyrese, you know, he'll be back better. He's young. He'll be back better than ever, but it just sunk the energy out of the game for me. But NBA Finals, I predicted it wrong. I predicted probably all of the playoffs wrong. I think I didn't get a single playoff series right since like the second round. Yeah, that is what it is. So we're going to kind of flip the script here to something that pertains more to me and the boys back here. The Phoenix Suns just traded Kevin Durant for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th overall pick in the 2025 draft, and 5 second-round picks. My initial thoughts on this is that I like it. I love it. I think, you know, it's hard for me to believe that an organization would give you numerous picks back and numerous young stars for a 36, 37-year-old Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant could play till he's 45. We don't know, but that's not something an organization is going to gamble on. And so I think we came out as best as we could, especially if the Phoenix Suns move Bradley Beal. People are upset. I see Suns Twitter. Some of you guys are weird. Some people are upset that we got Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. Look, yes, we wanted Jabari Smith. Shoot, I wanted Reed Shepherd too. Yet at the same time, I mean, we came out, I think, as best as we could. We still need to get a center. I mean, Nick Richards can take that leap next year, but we definitely need a point guard. And, like, looking at it from what we have now, we have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Jalen Green, and we just brought in Dillon Brooks. Bunch of shooting guards. And I can see why people think that's problematic, but hear me out. We got to get rid of Beal at all costs. It sounds like we're either going to buy him out or we're going to sell him for pennies. And I think wherever Bradley Beal goes, he's going to be just fine. I think it was tough playing alongside Booker and Kevin Durant and being a third option and not actually being able to play your actual game that you're used to as the number 1 or number 2 option. But at the same time, I think Jalen Green's something that I like. Jalen Green is somebody that I honestly want on the Phoenix Suns. He's 23 years old. No, he's not averaging 28 points a game right now, but think of the situation he's put in now. Okay, take Bradley Beal out of the equation. Let's say we get rid of Bradley Beal. Okay. Say we get rid of Bradley Beal, and I hope we do. For his sake as well. Not that I hate Bradley Beal. I don't hate Bradley Beal. I just think it's just not a good fit. Jalen Green has an opportunity to learn behind Devin Booker. Jalen Green has an opportunity to learn behind Devin Booker. Jordan LaFontaine, one of the biggest haters out there on the internet. Don't pay attention to him. Just kidding. He has an opportunity to learn behind Devin Booker, and I think the Suns get younger with that. Move, and I think Jalen Green has a high ceiling. So I like that. He's athletic. He's a high flyer. He could shoot. He can get to the rim. And at times he shows flashes of great defense and all things that the Suns could use. And so then you add in the Dylan Brooks factor of the trade where it's, yes, another shooting guard, but at the same time, I think he brings kind of that culture changer and he brings just kind of that menace. He kind of brings that menace that a team needs, the bad guy, the villain. Like we have him. And think about this. Suns now have not Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and Grace Snell on the same team. We got the ultimate villains on one team. So, and Dylan Brooks can score too. You watched him in Houston. You've watched him in Memphis. Yes, he's the guy who's trash talking, getting in fights, starting stuff, but he can still hoop. He can still score. And yeah, I think the lights were too bright for Green this year in the playoffs. I would agree with that, LaFontaine. I really would agree with that. And here's my thing. He doesn't need to be the closer on the Suns now. That's Devin Booker. Yes, Jalen Green will close out games throughout his career from here going on, but he gets to have that kind of weight lifted off his shoulders, whereas on the Houston Rockets, he was their go-to wing scorer. And, at 23 years old, not really being able to learn under anybody while your time in Houston, you just kind of learn as you go. I can see how it's tough. Not everyone can just insert themselves in the league like Luka and just be clutch right away. Some guys got to learn it, and some guys got to kind of build up to that. And I think that's the case with Jalen Green. And again, he's 23 years old. And so he's another star to kind of pair up with Devin Booker. And I think the future can definitely be bright there if we play our cards right with him. Because when the game's closing down and we have a guy taking the shot, we know it's going to Book. You know what I mean? We know it's going to Book. And so, Jalen Green's just like, okay, I just need to come in here. I need to put points up. I need to play defense. Right? That other external pressure of closing a game, dropping 15 in the fourth, isn't necessarily there. Is he going to do it? Yeah, he's going to have games where he goes off. For sure. He's going to have games where he shuts it down. But that comfort of it, right, is there's less pressure of that because Devin Booker's right there. And so I don't mind the trade. The 10th overall pick, it is what it is. Hopefully we snag somebody. I don't know exactly who they're going to get. We'll see here in 2 days. But hopefully we get somebody that kind of fits. Hopefully a point guard or a big. Point guard or a big or something like that. But, I think we came out best we could. I really wanted Jabari Smith and Reed Shepherd. Obviously didn't get him. But at the same time, if I'm the Houston Rockets, okay, if I'm getting KD, I don't need Jalen Green, but I still probably need Jabari Smith. And so I could see the lens. I don't need Jalen Green or Dylan Brooks because I got Amen, I got KD, I got Van Vliet. I'm more willing to part with those kind of guys. But if I get rid of Jabari Smith, that's a power forward center that we don't have anymore, and you're gonna put that responsibility on KD. But now KD can literally play the 3, and he'll play the 4 for sure. But I can see why we didn't get Jabari Smith. It sucks, but at the same time, beggars can't be choosers. It didn't seem like there was much out there for the Suns for KD. Not because KD's trash. He's not trash at all. It's just the age part. How much does he have in the tank where he can average 24, 25 points a game going forward? So I think the Rockets got a small window here, and I think they can do something in that window. I say they got 3 prime years of KD left. till he's about 39. After that, we'll see. LaFontaine, I'm sure you're going to get to it, but what's your thoughts on Hallie playing through the injury when costing himself a year? So I just kind of touched on it, LaFontaine. I was just saying, like, once that injury happened, it just made that whole series dead to me. Not dead, but they were it just took the fun out of it. And so, but my thought on him playing through it is I don't blame him one bit. I don't blame him one bit. Halliburton's what, 25, 26 years old. A calf strain, not smart to play on, but at the same time, like, what would you do if you were in his position? Would you never know, especially on the Indiana Pacers, you never know when you're going to get back to that point. First off. Second off, it's like, this could be his only shot. And did he think he was going to tear his Achilles? I don't know. But at the end of the day, all in for glory. You know what I mean? Like, this could be his only shot. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And, guys try and play through injuries, and they have to understand that risk. And I think he understood the risk. And unfortunately, the risk happened. And costing himself a year, that part does suck, and I did touch on that. Like, that's a whole year he's not going to play with the Pacers, especially after a great run. But at the same time, like, he's young, and look at KD, for example. He tore his Achilles when he was in his 30s. He came back just fine, so I have no doubt he's going to come back just as good, if not better than ever. But yeah, it definitely sucks to see that with Halliburton, because he had such a great run, but that calf, man, every time a guy has a strained calf, he pops his Achilles if he plays through it. It sucks. Suns were offered Garland for KD from Cleveland. Garland and who and Garland and what, I guess, would be the question, but I wouldn't have mind Darius Garland in Phoenix at all. I didn't see that, but at the same time, I guess it's just what I know. The Suns were really focused on picks, and I know, Kevin Durant had a lot of say in where he was going. He shot down a lot of things as well, and I think he could have shot that down. I think he wanted to be, Texas or Florida. So it was either the Heat or the Rockets or the Spurs or the Mavericks. That's what I read and saw, is that it was Texas or Florida, no income tax or something like that, warm weather. But Darius Garland, Devin Booker would have definitely been a great duo. So we'll send you Bradley Beal and a number 10 pick for Darius Garland. How does that sound? But yeah, man, I mean, guys on Twitter are like, oh, I should have got Jabari. But at the same time, it's like, Jabari was probably untouchable in that trade. Cam Whitmore, probably not as untouchable. But again, at the same time, like, we're bringing in KD. He plays the 3 or the 4, but we're already kind of somewhat deep at the 4-5. So KD might be playing more of that 3. Like, I can see why Jabari Smith wasn't there, and we got Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green. And I think Jalen Green, like, people are trashing Jalen Green. Like, again, he was supposed to be the go-to wing scorer on the Rockets. And at 23 years old, obviously not there yet, but in Phoenix, it's a different situation. He's not necessarily the go-to. He's the second option on the whole team. He's the second option, and Devin Booker relieves a lot of that pressure from him, and he didn't have that in Houston. He had Amen Thompson, can't shoot. He had Freddie VanVleet, very streaky. Who else? Dillon Brooks, streaky shooter. And then is Jalen Green. So Jalen Green was their best option at the wing to score. And so, yeah, I can see why there's a lot of pressure there. But now you're in Phoenix, you got Devin Booker there, and Devin Booker takes a lot of pressure off of him, I believe, and I think that'll allow him to grow. So, I mean, I'm happy with the trade. I think it's the best we could have got. I saw a trade out of Minnesota that would have given us Rudy Gobert, DiVincenzo, and why am I spacing his name? Rudy Gobert, DiVincenzo, and Robert. I can't even think. You know who I'm talking about. They just drafted him last year. Anyways, and a pick. I don't think that would have been a bad Rob Dillingham. I don't think that would have been a bad choice at all either. But at the same time, look at who Jalen Green is. I think Jalen Green has a lot to offer for the Phoenix Suns. And if you don't think Jalen Green doesn't have a lot to offer for the Phoenix Suns, like quit playing with yourself. Yes, we didn't get Jabari Smith. I understand that. We wanted Jabari Smith. I wanted Jabari Smith. I've been one of the biggest Jabari Smith advocates since before he got drafted. I thought he should have went number 1. But, I think Jalen Green is going to fit perfectly in Phoenix, and it gives him an opportunity to grow. No, we're not going to have the expectation of winning a ring next year, depending on what we do with Beal. But we're still going to be competitive. We got younger. We got Dylan Brooks on the wing now, who's a defender. We got Dylan Brooks and Ryan Dunn on the wing. So we got instant defense right there. Then we got Devin Booker and Jalen Green. We got instant offense right there. Then all those other guys start to plug in, and it starts to take pressure off, right? And depending on what we do with Bradley Beal, we'll see. But again, hear me out. Jalen Green's going to be just fine in Phoenix. And I think when we look at this in 5 years, maybe not even 5 years, we might look at this in 2 years, and we may have been the ones who won the trade. Remember when Paul George got traded to the Clippers for Shea and all those picks? Everyone was saying the Clippers won that trade, right? At that time, people were saying the Clippers won the trade because the Clippers are getting Paul George and they're supposed to win a championship. Didn't happen, but now look at the trade. The Thunder won the trade by far. They got Shea and all those picks. Obviously, we didn't get all the first rounders that the Thunder got, but it could be one of those situations. So I want everyone just to relax, understand that Jalen Green has a lot to offer and a lot to learn from, especially Devin Booker, who's been to a finals, who's broken records in the finals, who's the greatest Sun of all time. Well, getting there. Nash, Barkley, I would understand that. But I think he's going to be just fine, and I'm actually excited to watch the Phoenix Suns next year because, for one, the title pressure isn't necessarily there anymore. I'm excited to see what happens now. Whether we have Bradley Beal or not, I'm excited to see what happens and how all of this plays out for the Phoenix Suns, right? If we're in that 5 through play-in, I will be fine with that. I think we could do better than that, but if we're in that 5 through play-in, I'm okay with that as long as we're competitive and we're in the playoffs. That's the only thing I'm looking for in this year. Devin Booker's 10th, 11th year in the league. He's going to be 29 this upcoming October. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to, is to see how it plays out. I'm excited as hell to watch Jalen Green on the Phoenix Suns. He's instant offense. He's a walking highlight tape. Right? And he's 23. He's 23. And then you add Dylan Brooks to this. And Dylan Brooks, y'all might not like Dylan Brooks, but I love Dylan Brooks. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. He's going to go annoy the other team's best player. He's going to do the small things, get on the floor for the ball. He's going to hit shots when he needs to hit shots. But then you pair him up with Grayson Allen, another great defender. Then we have guys like Ryan Dunn. Can Nick Richards make that next step? We need a point guard still. Is there somehow, some way we can re-sign and get Tyus Jones in there and just try it again? Him and Dylan Brooks played with each other in Memphis. I'm just kind of excited because the pressure of oh my God, we should be contending for a title, but we don't even make the playoffs. That's gone now. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to worry about people trashing KD and having this negative energy and focus on the Suns. Now we got younger and now we have a lot to look forward to. It's gonna be great. And so I'm jacked for it. I was watching Jalen Green highlights last night and I'm I can't wait to watch that with Devin Booker. I can't wait to watch that with Ryan Dunn and that young core we have. And then again, depends who we get with the number 10 pick. But I think there's a lot more to kind of unfold for the Suns in free agency here, but I'm excited. And so for all you fans out there, all you Suns fans, chill out. There's a reason why we didn't get Jabari Smith. There's probably no shot we were getting Jabari Smith. There's no shot. Because if there was, we would have got him. So what we got. Again, if we look at this, and because the Thunder gave up Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and those picks for a window this small. Not the Thunder, the Rockets. They gave those guys up for a window this small. Our window opened. Our window got bigger. And a lot can happen. Again, we're not going to win a ring this year. I'd like to see a playoff run. Absolutely. But we just need to get back on track. And we just need to just take a deep breath and understand it's all going to work out. Because if the Rockets don't win a chip with Kevin Durant, who really won the trade, right? So that is what it is. But what was I just going to say? Whitmore going to be big for them next year. Yeah, Cam Whitmore, he was one that we were looking for and potentially wanting, but it just we ended up not getting him. There's a lot of different things that kind of go into it. I wish I knew. I wish I could bargain for the Suns and do things like that for them, or just like get the behind the scenes look at it. But at the same time, I'm fine with what we got. People are gonna hate on it, but I'm okay. I'm okay with what we got. And so one thing that I just saw though is the Rockets are gonna look at not re-signing Fred VanVleet or whatever the deal is. I don't know what verbiage they used. And someone said James Harden back to Houston. And I'm like, well, here we go. Typical Kevin Durant team, right? Typical Kevin Durant team. Is it KD's fault? Kind of, yeah. But at the same time, it's like, why would you want to bring James Harden to the Rockets? Why would you want to do that? Because they were saying KD's going to take a pay cut on his extension and yada, yada, yada. And then there's the whole scenario is laid out for me on Twitter. And I was like, why would they want to bring James Harden back? Like, it didn't work out. Didn't work out the first time in OKC. They could have won a chip, but they didn't. Didn't work out in Brooklyn. James Harden didn't work out in Philly. James Harden didn't work out in LA. Now you want to bring him to Houston. You know, Kevin Durant didn't work out in Brooklyn. Kevin Durant didn't work out in Phoenix. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to just say that. I'm going to miss the hell out of Kevin Durant. I didn't want to trade Kevin Durant. One of the greatest scorers of all time, one of the greatest players of all time. But it just seems like this little circus just keeps following him. Of like, if they really do get James Harden, I will not pick the Houston Rockets to win a championship. I think they're better off where they are. But that's just my opinion. So anyways, that's my opinion on the NBA Finals. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you got this far, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like the video on Facebook. But again, sorry, I just don't have much to say about the finals, man. It was a great finals, but once Tyrese tore his Achilles, it just seemed like a waste of a Game 7. It was a waste of a Game 7. I feel so bad for him. The Thunder got bailed out. But again, and then I just gave you my thoughts on the Phoenix Suns trade for Kevin Durant. So stay tuned. Once the Bradley Beal thing drops, I'll drop another video. And then I'll drop something on the NBA draft. Cooper Flag's going to go number 1. Make sure to go back and watch that video I had about a month and a half ago when that dropped. But I appreciate you for popping in here, LaFontaine. Stay posted. The video will be on YouTube soon. Peace.